Welcome back to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn, episode 44, a series of the Furious to Curious show where we talk about business, life, Christianity, and more. This is Gary's episode. Take it away.
Kyle texted me earlier and said, I have nothing to say. And I said, you are a liar and you're dumb. And you'll still spew verbal diarrhea once we get going, depending on what we talk about. You unsent the questions, man. They were good questions.
Yeah, I didn't want you to see them beforehand.
Okay.
I thought I was texting him to myself, and then I realized I was texting him to you.
Okay.
So I said,
I texted Kyle back and said, we'll talk about something fun. And there's a clip that we're going to watch if we're able to. I don't know if
I can watch it right now. We can start with it.
Yeah, sure. Let's just play it.
Gary said,
I got
sent me a
real kick out of it.
clip of Trump talking, so let's do it.
Yeah, just play her.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said,
Fat shot drug.
President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88, and in New York I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's just really offensive.
What part is offensive?
Well, all of it, probably. We'll see. It's going to be really offensive to some
I
people.
think this is why I love Trump, or one of the reasons I appreciate him, because like what you see is what you get. Like that's how he would talk in private. Like he's not a politician. He just
He's not a politician.
he
The
says
fat shot drug. Do you know anybody on
then
Ozempic?
he's
He's
like-
talking about Ozempic.
you
Right?
know, and then he's like, and then it's not, and he tells his buddy it's not working.
It's not working. Which only a true friend could say to their fat friend.
Yes,
It's
yes,
not working.
Yes, it's not working. I wonder if actually
I
Trump's
played this
autistic.
clip at a meeting this morning, at another meeting I was at,
Okay.
with a bunch of Dutch guys.
Okay.
And the general consensus was very divided. Some people were just like, man, you're fat because you eat too much. And other people are like, well, I can't help it. It totally makes sense to... They had all kinds of people in their lives that were taking Ozempic.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that common here locally?
It's
as well,
very
people?
common. I bet you we should do a poll. Do a poll.
poll.
Who's on Ozempic or who knows someone that's on Ozempic? It's extremely expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're here to here
Oh,
too?
yeah.
How
It's
much?
outrageous. I want to say it's $300 and $400 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could just go to Arbonne and actually be healthier and for
Yeah.
way cheaper.
Yeah. Poop through a straw and just drink foo-foo dust.
No, it stops you from pooping through a straw.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Solidifies
maybe
everything.
I should try it. Anyways, I just thought it's going to totally be offensive to people that, like, some people take Ozempic very seriously. Ozempic is a drug for people that
Yeah. I
have
talked about it with
diabetes.
Ed Les. He's like, don't take it. You don't know idea what this is going to do to you for the next 20 years.
Okay. Totally against it. It's very controversial.
It's just the way that society works. Like, just give me a pill to fix my problems. They don't want to actually go do something about it. It's like just avoiding.
Would you feel that way if somebody was actually diabetic and was taking it legitimately, or you don't think anybody should take it?
I'm not saying nobody should take it, but for the large swath of the population, people are taking it because they don't want to go and take care of their bodies the way that God created us to take care of our bodies.
It is interesting, and I say obesity because obviously, whatever. Like, what does even overweight mean, and what is this?
Yeah.
It's like any other sin. It's nuanced to some degree, right? But it is fascinating how, and we've had sermons on it recently at church, and it's fascinating how it is definitely a thing that we do not address. Like, we'll call people on all kinds of sin, or we'll definitely gossip about other people, and I guess maybe people make fun of people because they're overweight, but like, really, like, nobody's lovingly coming to somebody and say, "Hey, man, like."
I mean, yeah, I think with most things, most people don't get challenged.
That one, nobody is. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
socially acceptable to
yeah.
be overweight, right?
Yeah,
And in the church, I think in particular, right, where it's just like,
Yeah.
I find it interesting. Well, even just the fact of like people taking an expensive drug to lose weight, but it was just interesting how even socioeconomically, like, I think, I don't know if there's an actual, like, statistics to it about whether people that are lower on the socioeconomic scale are heavier or not. But like, it was interesting how even like I do the queue quite a bit lately with the kids, and like it seems like mostly
The queue is a hike.
to hike near us. It's moderately steep. Definitely for little kids, it's a grind, but pretty short. So it's good. And it seems like mostly wealthy people hiking there. And I mean, I'm just judging books by its cover, but the way people are dressed and the fact that people are driving Mercedes and other expensive vehicles. And like, you're not seeing like people from downtown Chilliwack hiking up this hike, right? It's just interesting. And it's interesting how people that are less, and I don't know where I was going with this, but Marie and I were talking about this the other day, like people that are poor, I think typically eat crappier food too.
Yeah.
And there again, I don't
Well, crappier food is cheaper, right? You go like that.
Is it?
Yeah. If you go to a grocery store, the outside of the grocery store is the healthier food. That's usually the more expensive stuff, like the meats
Milk,
and vegetables,
dairy.
and milk, dairy, and then the crappier processed foods are in the center, and those are the cheap ones.
Milk's really expensive, especially in Canada.
Yeah. Stupid supply management. But,
Stupid smart.
anyways,
Our listener sent me the same message seconds after you sent it to me, a faithful listener. And it was interesting how, well, he wanted
the message about
having, and about how I'm pussyfooting around in a total wiener. And also that he thought we should have a panel that you and I should moderate it. I thought I needed to be in the discussion. I didn't know I was going to moderate it. I feel like I have quite a bit of skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea to have a discussion. And that even that Sylvan guy who he quotes, the food professor, I follow him on Twitter. Nobody challenges him. Like to my knowledge, he's never been publicly challenged. He just tries to eviscerate dairy farming in Canada. But like I think
there's also a lot of people that have that post opinions online and won't allow themselves to be challenged. Right? Like they won't go to podcasts where they're going to be challenged or different places like that. So,
I think on all that issue and many others, it's not black and white. There's pros and cons to everything. So discussion's good, right? Let people decide.
Yeah, I think discussion's good. And I also think that sometimes the ideas of like it's not black and white or like it's nuanced can also kind of just allow both people to believe whatever they want to believe. And you never actually...
Fair enough. It also really intimidates people that are fearful of falsehoods. Like I think in our culture that I grew up in, where it was just so fearful of being wrong, like you just take a stance and it's the hill to die on every time and cling to it tightly and never deviate for fear of being a bit wrong. And it's like, if you're that arrogant that you think you're never wrong now with what you believe, like wake up.
Yeah. I got one more clip.
Okay.
From,
okay. Worse or better than that one?
I thought it was more enjoyable. But it's Theo Vaughn. He's a comedian and he's on Joe Rogan.
Is it the baby clip of him?
No, but he's talking about Dutch people. So
nice.
Let's go.
Nice.
Dude, the Dutch are aerodynamic too. You ever seen a Dutch person?
They're big.
Well, and also, if you look at their faces, they're extremely aerodynamic.
Seeing that they travel through space better? Is that what you're saying?
I think if you take one to the front of a plane, it wouldn't, it wouldn't be that hard on them.
They have good symmetry. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you look at the Dutch, their heads tall.
Right.
It's like
Good genes. They're really big people.
And they got tall cranium space. They have a lot of room in their head for
ideas.
Yeah.
You are the epitome of a Dutch person.
Big nose,
big
forehead,
big forehead,
big noggin.
Yeah, just a big meathead. I just sent you another Theo Vaughn clip.
You're gonna watch that one too.
It's not appropriate. Forget it. I'm on a bad run today of watching crap on Twitter.
This is what happens when Gary runs the show.
Yeah, I'll just send everybody away because they're offended. It's funny. It's really dumb though. It's only because my wife watches Theo Vaughn podcasts. I think.
Okay.
I think.
But and she forwards.
I've definitely heard.
And she forwards fast through the gentle and lowly stuff.
Yeah. She might not even watch it, or she's just talked about it. Is he? Who is the guy? Who is Theo Vaughn? He's a podcast guy, right?
Yeah, he's a comedian.
Oh, he's a comedian.
Yeah, and he's most of the time I would say not appropriate.
Not appropriate.
Yeah. Or I mean, yeah.
Okay. So now the new thing is, and I met with a guy the other day, who didn't even know anything about AI, ironically, about ChatGPT. But like now they take Theo and they turn him into a baby, right? And they have him saying stuff as a baby. Ridiculous stuff that obviously a child would never say.
You can do this with everything now because you can take like a script of like someone's sermon, for example, and then you can match it with somebody else's voice. So I could take like a John Piper sermon and match it to your voice and send it to somebody and be like, look at the sermon that Gary preached. It's amazing. And you can do all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting what's going to happen.
I don't think good things.
I mean, there's going to be some good things. I had a discovery call with a guy this week, and he has Ever Friends AI, I think is the name of his company. And so he started an AI company that is for elderly people with dementia that have an AI friend that gets to know them. It looks like a human, and really helps them.
I know a lot of people that aren't seniors that need that.
Yeah, what it really helps him have like a companion during the day. So he said he has an old elderly mom. He's the only one that talks to her once a day, and so she's no one to talk to. And so this person like will like listen to her and like ask questions and like and apparently it's been really really helpful for her. And now there's lots of like dangers with it, and like there is with anything. But I think it will, for as much bad as it can do, it'll be able to do just as much good, right? It's like I think
Do you think people are using AI to preach sermons?
yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought the other day. I'm like, man, I wonder if these guys are hammering out these sermons on with ChatGPT.
I mean, you can do anything, right? Because like you can create. So one thing I did is I created a chatbot. I uploaded all of our podcasts, the first 40 episodes,
Okay.
and then I uploaded a few other things, and I gave it to. I asked my assistant to help me with this, and she set it up, and I told it to say, get to know me and how I think, and then when you're have a question about something, ask the bot because it has all the stuff that we've talked about, and help it create questions and help it like give topics that we can talk about and make sure we haven't talked about them before, and like just like hey, you can use it for all kinds of things. I think AI is neutral, just like fire or like in the internet.
Fair enough.
Like it's like you can use it for extreme good or extreme bad.
Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. I guess I just feel like, man, talk about opening up a can of worms.
Oh yeah,
Survived a long time without it. We're totally fine. Like, do we really need to go down this path?
Yeah. I mean, I'll make things way more efficient.
Somebody said to me yesterday, the person that ran it by me that had never really heard of it, they're like, isn't it going to make people really dumb? But I think it's even a skill set, just knowing how to use AI and ask the questions takes actual
there's
brain power, right?
Yeah, it's called a prompt engineer, I think they call it.
Okay.
Like, because it's all about how good
How you prompt it.
yeah, how you prompt it,
Makes
how
sense.
good you can prompt it, and then and you can get it to create its own prompts as well, right? You can say like, hey.
So where is ChatGPT, for example, getting an answer to? Like, where is all this information, and how are they getting it to spit it out instantaneously?
I don't know. I mean, it's a supercomputer that is able to, like, just scan.
In seconds.
Yeah, insane amount of information. Yeah,
Like, to think that you could spit out a 3,000 word essay that you could hand in seconds does it's
it's
mind boggling, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can get it to do anything, right? So, like, for example, create a script for a video. Like, I need to create some videos for my coaching. To like share what I did for me, and like and how I benefited from it, but I want to create it in a way that is most efficient for storytelling, and so you ask it to create a script and you tweak it. Okay. Yeah. Contracts, I've used it for a long time for last couple years for
That's
contracts.
one thing I need to start using it for. Enter in like illegal, like I signed a contract a while ago that I never read, and it's like wasn't that many pages, even maybe 20 pages. I should have said, please read this and give this to me in simple, dumbed down English for a farmer, and I'm sure it would do that.
Yeah, or just even a contract. Hey, I need to hire this person, and this is their like,
the expectation.
Use the expectation sort of. Can you write it in a contract, and it just populate a contract.
Crazy.
Yeah, we're just at the start of it. It's gonna change everything, right? Because even something simple as like having AI at traffic lights, and it can read the traffic patterns, and so it will like, it'll be smart in how like when it turns
How
lights
often
green,
the light's changing.
yeah,
Okay.
and when and stuff like that, depending on what time of day, like it'll be used for everything. Like it's for coding. Like you won't have coders anymore. Like it'll code websites for you.
I think we should all have all roundabouts instead of traffic lights. I don't know why we have any traffic lights hardly.
We're way behind. Europe has all roundabouts.
Europe has all roundabouts. Makes
I mean,
sense.
they do
Makes
have
no
traffic lights as
sense.
well, but
No sense.
yeah, much more efficient.
Yeah, these intersections in Chilliwack where everyone's coming to a dead stop, and half the time they wouldn't even need to stop. It doesn't make a lot of sense when we're trying to save the environment. But anyways,
Okay, moving on. Got some questions for you.
okay. Should we do the gentle and lowly first?
Sure. Okay, we're going through the book Gentle and Lowly, The Heart of Christ for Sinners and Sufferers, one chapter a week. We're over halfway now. Chapter
Can't end soon enough for some people.
chapter 14. There's 23 chapters. So, and so last week was about the Holy Spirit. This week is about God the Father. So the title chapter is Father of Mercies, from 2 Corinthians 1 verse 3, the Father of Mercies and the God of all comfort. And so that kind of the premise of the chapter is a common perception among Christians is that, to some degree anyway, the Father is less inclined to love and forgive than the Son, which is not what the Bible teaches. And so it kind of, talks about that in the chapter, which I think is important. What did you take from it?
I'll just read the final point that I had. Oh yeah, I'll just read two things. That's what stood out to me. At one point it says, "Who is God the Father?" And the Trinity is confusing. None of us understand it. I don't think we're supposed to. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that people that try to understand things about God are, I think it's just a lie from the devil to get us to question things. I think that there's just a lot of things in life we're not going to understand. Good things and bad, but definitely things about God. He's mysterious, right? But anyways, who is God the Father? Just that, our Father. Some of us had great dads growing up. Others of us were horribly mistreated or abandoned by them. Whatever the case, the good in our earthly dads is a faint pointer to the true goodness of our Heavenly Father, and the bad in our earthly dads is the photo negative of who our Heavenly Father is. He is the Father of whom every human father is a shadow. And my experience has been working with many, many broken people and me, myself, being a broken father, is just that our parents, many of them will do the best they can and it won't be good enough. And we need to sort that out.
Yeah.
Which is actually connected to one of the questions somebody asked about counseling. But yeah, we need to sort that out and deal with that. And we often just portray that experience of our dad onto God, right? And we view God the way, and I think it's very obvious in our culture, in our specific culture that we live in, where, dads are tough, they're firm, they're strong, they don't show a lot of emotion, definitely not a lot of sadness, definitely
Not gentle and lowly.
Often not gentle and lowly. Often just try harder, do a good job. You get praised when you do a good job. Emotionally absent. So, when you get that kind of upbringing and then, you just view God as like, how can God really care about me? And then everything the Bible says, and that's what's beautiful about this book for people that, have those views on God. It's like, no, God really, really loves us, right? And he loves us beyond anything we can imagine. And so then the end of the book, the heart of Christ is gentle and lonely, and that is the perfect picture of who the Father is. The Father himself loves you.
Yeah, so the sentence before that says, your gentlest treatment of yourself is less gentle than the way your Heavenly Father handles you. His tenderness towards you outstrips what you are even capable of towards yourself. Generally, we're quite hard on ourselves. I would say most people are, but or critical, or at least maybe it gets covered up by like denial of like, hey,
or
I have
complete excusing ourselves.
Yeah, and have
There's
no
lots
problems.
of that.
But if you're actually honest with yourself, generally not that gentle towards yourself. But even our most tenderness towards ourselves, or our kindness towards ourselves, can't compare to how gentle and kind God is with us, which is just, shows you how incredible the cross is, because that's only possible because, Jesus absorbed all the wrath that we deserve. But it's also one of the most encouraging things.
Yeah, I wrote at the very end, I think too many people are trying to be good to themselves instead of allowing God to be good to them. I think the whole idea in our culture is about self-care, and the idea of people like, giving themselves a break and whatever. And it's like, I don't think our rest is supposed to come, or our sense of peace is supposed to come, from ourselves. I think that's something that God will bring us if we trust in him. And I think that a lot of that is.
Do you have an example of how you did that yourself?
Sorry?
Do you have an example of how you did that to yourself? Or like practically?
Well, just asking, just actually praying about it, where it's like, or just kind of coming to the, and there again, I'm probably on the extreme end.
What do you mean though, like giving yourself a break? Like what would be an example of someone giving themselves a break?
I think people are always like excusing their, you say people are hard on themselves, and they are. People are like internally, like they're their own, they know their shortcomings because they know every depraved thought, and they know, but I mean, people are perpetually excusing that. Right, because they can't live with it, so they're brushing it away, they're stuffing it, right? They're rather than just like I had an experience this week with somebody, which I won't talk about, but severe like brokenness that needs to be dealt with, and then like almost at the point of confessing, and now it's like, man, that's when healing will finally start. It'll be like, hey, you confess to the other, you confess to God, and like be amazed at His mercy. And I think of and there's very good examples in the Bible, right? Where there's still consequence for sin. I think of David often, right? But he was still a man after God's own heart, despite his really grievous sin, right? So
Yeah,
I think
you won't experience the peace and forgiveness God offers if you are not fully owning and confessing how broken and sinful you are, or and just like trying to minimize it or excuse it, or everyone's dealing with this whatever thing. It just it doesn't work. So
yeah.
how do you? What was the example this week? You said someone asked about counseling. You just referred to it. You said there was someone asked.
Oh, it was in the questions, I think, in the show notes.
Oh, okay.
There's a question there.
I'll ask you another question first. How do you know when you're genuinely serving others versus just feeding your own ego?
Oh, that's a hard question. I mean, I guess for me, I've been challenged to like give without anybody knowing. Do something without anybody knowing, without telling anybody. And if you can do that, then you're probably doing it for the right reasons. If you feel like you need to in some way share your generosity even with one other person, I don't know. It's complicated, right? Because a lot of good things that we do are still good things, even if we get praised for them, right?
Yeah, or I would say, are you serving others at the expense of your family? Then it's probably more for your own ego than it is for your family. Like it's much harder to, if you're like.
I mean, that's a complicated too, because there is always going to be sacrifice from family when you serve others to some degree.
Okay, but like for example, the scripture say.
I mean, I would go too far there, so I know where you're going with that, but I'm just saying like. People will very quickly look for an excuse not to be an elder at church because they think, oh, my family. Or no, it's just because they don't want to be an elder. Or there will be, you know what I mean? Like people are always looking for excuses to abdicate from the weighty things that they are called to do, right? To serve. So,
yeah. So I'm saying more like the Bible. The Bible says, to men, serve your wife as Christ served the church, but it doesn't say serve the mission field or the unbelievers as Christ served the church. Like. Our first calling,
priority
is to our wife, and then it is to our kids,
and then to others,
and then to others, and so it's I think it's more in that way where we're like it's just way easier generally to go out at night and like to go to a meeting or to like go do X Y Z than it is to like sit on the couch with your kids and read a book
or play Lego. Yeah, I'm living proof of that, and I guess I've been super convicted of it. I mean, I'm slowly changing, but it's like I always tell people, you don't get pats on the back at home for changing a diaper, right? Yeah. Like nobody cares. Like, good job, bud. Yeah. Clean it up after yourself too.
You get your pats on the back after 20 years of doing it consistently and having a good relationship with your kids.
I don't even know if they care.
I think they do.
Yeah.
We just talked about the impact of dads have. So, C.S. Lewis says a quote. It says, "Children are not a distraction from more important work. They are the most important work. In the end, a legacy that matters won't be what you built in this world. It will be what you raised and whether they felt safe, seen, and loved in your presence."
It's interesting. Even this morning, I was doing bark mulch at our house for hours and hours. A big dump trailer full, and I had two boys with me. And like all they want to do is talk, and they want to like ride in the truck. And it's like I'm trying to remind myself of that, right? Where it's like I just want to go, like I just want to get this done, right? And it's like they're asking me this question. Then every time I hop in the truck to move it 10 feet forward, they both got to get on my lap, and they both want to drive, right? It's like, hey, that is the important thing, and it is hard in that moment to be like when you're goal oriented and you just want to get work done. It's like, but it really doesn't matter. Like even if I never even got the job done, it wouldn't matter if I was well connected with my kids, right? And it is, it's tough.
Next question. What belief about success did you inherit that you had to completely unlearn?
Inherit?
Yeah, or just like that you were taught growing up maybe, or like assumed that you had to unlearn. What about success did you realize is just like not the case?
I guess, and I've said this to young people lately about wealth, is that like, and this is so, I don't know if you can ever grasp it really, but like there will never be enough. Right? And so I think I've always thought, like even like there again, if you had taken me back to 20 and you said, hey, when you're 40, you'll be here. I thought, wow. Yeah. Right? Man, I'll be happy. Yeah. Like, wow. Yeah. Well, no, like it brings zero satisfaction. Right? And to explain that to someone that is grinding it out and trying to save money and make as much as they can. And they think if they just make more, or if they just buy this next place, or if they, and I mean, I think I've pretty much done that, or I mean, I've had a lot of experiences of that, and like it brings zero satisfaction. If I look in my like journey of like even Marie and I, where we've lived in our like kind of our journey in business, we still most fondly look back when we were renting, when we started dairy farming, the very beginning, milking 11 of our own cows with completely borrowed money, had no equity, no wealth.
Yeah.
And it was just the fun of the journey, the challenge of the starting. And now some of that's my personality, because some people would just love to have 100 cows and just carry on comfortably. You know, my psyche is that I'd love to just start things and build things. But like, yeah, those were like fun times, right? We're in it together. We're both milking. We're out there early. We're fighting. She's throwing a rake at me. It's like good memories, right? So we don't work well together, actually, ironically.
Oh, makes me think of like as a little kid when you're building a tree fort.
Yeah.
It's building the tree fort that's way more enjoyable than playing in it.
Yeah.
And so just to remind people, like, hey, it's the journey is the enjoyable part.
That is an issue. Like at our house right now, there is a tree fort being built. It's not even on our property. I think it's on the neighbors. And it's like, did I tell you this already? They're unscrewing the shed. Like they're taking sheets of metal off the shed. They're taking boards off the playhouse. They have parts of they have a bike, a kid carrier.
Your kids are building this.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
But that's the fun part.
I'm trying to be really gracious. My parents, I know I wrecked something from my dad when I was a kid and I got a big tune up and I'm sure I deserved it, but it's just like, I don't know, it's a fine line. Teach them to respect my stuff while still allowing freedom and let them
Reminds me
experiment.
one time I was
good, clean fun out there.
I was washing my parents' vehicles. I must have been like 12 or something, and I was had the van, and I love doing burnouts, and so I thought I had the van in reverse to like step on it, do a little burnout, but it was in drive, and so I went flying forward instead, and my dad's car was in front of the van, and so I nailed the car, and the car went flying into the garage, and so I bolted. Up and hit into trees.
Said it wasn't you?
No, it was me. It was very clear. And he came and got me, and he just called me down. He wasn't
Wrecked the car?
No, it wasn't too bad. The car and the van seemed okay. The garage was totally messed up, and so I had to go. I think it was like $400 to get the garage fixed. I paid him in $5 bills.
Oh wow! Did you actually pay for it?
Yeah, big wad. I paid for everything, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from the start.
Okay.
But I remember driving a couple days later. We were driving to the airport to pick up my sister, I think, and the van was smoking like mad. But I guess the rad had got punctured, but then the bumper popped back out. And so my dad's always in a black suit, and so we had to get picked up in a taxi and got to the airport, and he pulls out this big wad of $5 bills because I just
Still
paid
had the
him.
400.
This guy thinks he's a drug dealer or whatever.
Italian, Dutch mafia, big forehead.
Big nose.
Big nose.
I was thinking this week about like just like the desires thing. Like we can't try harder to desire different.
No.
Right? Like our desires don't lie. Desiring God has a great article about that. Like our desires don't lie. Like they are what they are. And I think we just need to admit often that we can't change our desires. When we like have inclinations towards certain sin or to neglect our family or to whatever, and we just admit that we can't instead of trying harder, we need to admit defeat, confess it, and pray to God to change our hearts. And it reminds me of David's psalm, "Create in me a clean heart, of God." Like he's saying that as a believer, no, which is interesting. It reminds me of another topic that we were often taught growing up to pray for a new heart, but it never says that in Scripture to pray for a new heart. The only one where it gets close to that is David saying, "Create in me a clean heart, of God." But that is a believer saying that. I was like, change my heart, because trying harder isn't going to fix it, right? We can't try harder to change our desires.
Similar to Paul, where he talks in the New Testament about, I do things I do not want to do, right? And I think that's a comfort. That's a comfort to people that are professing Christians or trying to figure out if they're a Christian. It should be like, hey, you are still going to sin. And I mean, if it bothers you that year, that's a good sign, right? And I think that a lot of people just live in this weird spot of thinking, oh, I'm going to be like so different or so perfect. And it's like, no, like it's a lifelong struggle, right? So
I'll at the end of today's episode, I'll add the piece of my freedom session testimony that I said I might share a couple episodes ago. I
are you
recorded
putting
it.
in the overtime?
Yeah, no, I'll put it in the regular show, but I'll take it. I shared it in overtime already a couple weeks ago, but I'll clip it and I'll put it at the end. But the reason I bring that up now is after doing freedom session a few times and doing a lot of recovery work, I kind of thought that like at the end I would kind of like be over things and be free, and like I wouldn't have to deal with like so much sin anymore. And that isn't the case. Like you still struggle, and you're just more free and joyful and less like weighted down. But the night that I shared that, we had a friend over, 7-year-old widow, and I shared it with her, and she gave it back to me, and she said, "Kyle, it doesn't stop." I'm like, "What doesn't stop?" She goes like, "The struggle." And she goes like, "I still deal with so much selfishness." She's been a believer for like 40 years. And it was somewhat, I guess, encouraging to me that like, oh yeah, like we will be fighting until the day we die against sin and self and the things in this world. Like it isn't going to stop. And I think sometimes we have this idea as a Christian that like we're gonna,
We do need to fight though.
we need to keep fighting.
And I think a lot of people just don't fight, right?
That's
they
right.
Basically, and ironically, it's counter to what you were saying earlier about giving up. Because one of my other sayings is you got to give up to win the war, and you got to admit that you can't do it on your own, right?
Yeah, that's the same thing.
You know,
That's in the same.
So
same
it is.
line,
It's a bit of a paradox, but I do think that people don't realize.
but I think that's where the battle
People are
is,
just
right?
fighting quietly
I
on
think
their own in their head.
Like taking up your cross and following God is constantly admitting defeat. That's the hardest thing to do is to admit defeat. We want to say that we're strong enough.
We want to do it on our own.
We don't want to do it on our own. It's like
human nature.
It goes against their nature to say like, call up a buddy, like me calling you this week, and being like,
Not doing great in my head.
pray for me. Like, okay, what else you got? This is your show, so
You've done 80% of the talking, at least 70. Yeah.
we'll do a poll.
Oh, just. Oh yeah, we can answer the last question.
Okay, I'll ask since you can answer. Are Christians going to therapy instead of going to God? Are we leaning on counselors more than the Holy Spirit? Where is the line between helpful support and avoiding surrender?
I think that most Christians do not go to counselors enough. That would be my first. And I guess I should preface that by saying if you did Freedom Session, if you're living in a healthy Christian community, you probably would not near as many people would need to go to counselors. So my experience even at church is always, we send people to a counselor. It's like, no, we should be able to counsel one another. There should be somebody further along in their journey and maturity wise and faith walk where they could as a general rule, be helpful to you in some way, right?
Yeah.
Where, and if you don't have people like that in your life, you're either intentionally avoiding them or you're not even aware. You're just kind of like floating and never really, because people don't want to be vulnerable. It's a general rule, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think ideally people would just be in that relationship with people. And then my experience has been even this week with this person that's coming to my mind now, that's in a very tough spot. That counselor just pointed them straight to God, straight to coming to the end of themselves, straight to like, hey, giving up, right? And now that person has a hard choice to make, right? I mean, do they go back to their old ways of kind of, keeping everything private and avoiding, or do they say, no, I'm going to face this head on and allow God to work a miracle, which he's going to need to do, right? And he will. But he only will if you we have
to surrender.
Yeah, we have to give up. We have choices, right?
Yeah.
So we have our own will that can really influence things. So, I mean, what is the line between helpful support and avoiding surrender? I mean, I guess I feel like most people that are going to counselors are probably on a path to some type of surrender, right? But that's probably not totally true. There probably are people that just perpetually go and want to vent, and they're still a victim at a
Well,
whatever,
it depends what kind of
right?
counselor you go to too. So I've been in counseling since I was 9, and psychiatrists and all kinds of other crap. And there is just a lot that suck, and they don't actually. So under like the laws around counseling as well, you can't actually give advice, and there's like a whole bunch of other things that you can't do, which isn't actually helpful. Like a lot of times people just need to be called out, and like they need to hear the truth.
So lots of counselors aren't following the letter of the law.
That's right. Lots are, and they're not that helpful.
Is that an actual law?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to look into that.
Yeah. And so, I think there's you can't just just stay in victim mentality forever, right? Like that's not helpful.
I've seen a lot of counselors too, and I can remember some pretty bad ones.
Yeah.
I've had some really good ones too.
Yeah. But my best has definitely been Dave Curry, but he, I would say, puts counseling and coaching together, where he definitely just calls you out and calls you to greatness.
Beats you like a piñata at a fiesta.
Yeah,
which you need.
I mean, I know people that don't like him for that reason. They're like,
oof, too harsh. Too harsh.
Like, can't handle it, too sensitive.
Yeah.
And
there again, some of that might just come from how they've been treated by others, and might remind them of people that have really mistreated them, or who knows, right? Yeah. He's a loving man. He's only
still human.
He's still human too. Yeah, and that's an interesting concept, and I think that's what's really been on my mind lately. Is just this idea of like, we live in a culture where everything is scrutinized, everything's public, and then it just neuters everybody. Nobody dares to say anything. I mean, even this podcast, it's like, right away I'm like terrified. It's like the blowback. The feel like,
who cares, Gary?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say who cares, but just like I am screwed up and I am definitely going to do the wrong thing, right? And like I can say that. And I think that the problem is that we live in this world where you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to make a mistake. You canceled, you cut off, right? It's like, whoa, what a crappy way to live where everyone needs to present perfectly on the outside. Meanwhile, everybody's dying internally, right? So anyways, I believe in,
Remember all Romans 3?
yeah, transparent, authentic. That's what we're going for better, for worse.
You're getting close in the podcast. I would say more and more you're getting closer to the
Oh, I'm
off-camera.
so
Gary
far
to
from
there.
it yet. So far.
We'll know when the F-bombs start dropping.
Unfortunately.
Okay. That's it. That's all. Another feels like a spaz episode, but
It does not matter. Nobody had a gun held to their head to listen. And if they did,
I was
they
shooting
got
right
big
before
problems.
this. I was trying to
Yeah.
kill some crows. So
And I got a raccoon trap from you, which I'm going to use tonight in my
Yes.
garage because I got a 5-gallon pail of cat food that gets knocked over every night, and the raccoons. Go to
and you
town
got
on
a
it.
sweet rifle that you bought off of me with
Yeah.
like night vision on it, so you can.
Yeah, could
peg
you
those-
imagine me shooting in the dark at my house?
Yeah, I can. It's a great time.
Okay. Have a great week, guys. Take care.
Hey guys, like I said on the podcast, here is my freedom session testimony. I shared it on Overtime a few weeks ago, and I said I would think about sharing it here on the main podcast, and decided to do that. So here's a clip from that. Cheers.
So, and often I think people are too general sharing. Like that's one of our defense mechanisms where we really generalize.
I think I could just read it now. This is just Patreon. So, okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Kyle Ruitenburg, and this is my second year here. Unfortunately, I have so many problems that I needed to come twice. But fortunately, I came twice to actually deal with my problems. Last year, I stood here and shared the story of a boy who felt unloved, out of control, and full of shame, and a man who carried that pain into every area of his life. I talked about my failures, my cheating, the ways I'd hurt others, and the incredible freedom I'd found in bringing those things into the light for the first time. But here's the truth. Freedom isn't a one-and-done event. It's a battle, and little did I know I was still just getting started. See, shame is sticky. Even after freedom, the enemy tries to whisper, "You're still that guy." I quickly find myself still wrestling with the desire to escape pain and emotion, whether through weed, porn, emotional connections in the wrong places, performance, or just trying to work harder and be better. So what's the biggest difference now? I'm not hiding anymore. I don't justify it. I don't pretend I'm over everything. Well, sometimes I try, but I bring it into the light, and I have no secrets. It's the secrets and the darkness that destroy. Since my last testimony, my wife and Nicole have continued to rebuild, and God has brought more healing than I ever imagined. We had separated 5 times in 3 years, and now, 6 weeks ago, Nicole and I welcomed a new baby boy, Oliver Trey. How is that possible? God is good. This year, Freedom Session forced me to deal with the things I hadn't fully faced yet, the emotional distance, the resentment, and the patterns still lurking underneath. I had forgiven others last year, but this year I had to learn how to walk in that forgiveness, how to not pick it back up, how to extend grace to myself, especially when I fall into old temptations or feel that a voice of shame creeping in. I had to forgive in places I never expected, deep wounds from childhood and from some of the people closest to me. And I'm thankful to say those relationships in my life that felt beyond broken have also started to heal. I had to confront the lie that my value is on my output, that if I'm not perfect, I'm worthless. That belief still shows up sometimes, but I'm learning slowly that I have value because God says I do, not because of what I do. I've learned to look at the younger version of myself with compassion instead of contempt, the kid who just wanted love, a hug, and a safe place to be seen, and I see him now, and I don't hate him anymore. So what now? I'm committed to being a man who tells the truth, who keeps no secrets, who gets up when he fails, and keeps going by grace. I want to be a man who gives hope to others stuck in shame, sin, and silence, because I've been there, and I know the way out. The way out is Jesus. He's the one who carried my guilt. He took my sin, not just the public stuff, but the darkest things I swore I'd never say out loud. And he said, "It is finished." And I believe him. To those of you just starting this journey, here's what I'll say. It's worth it. Keep going. Keep confessing. Keep forgiving. The weight can lift. The light can break through. And joy, actual joy, is real. To my Freedom Session group, thank you for putting up with me, and thank you for being real. To my brothers and sisters who have walked this road with me, I love you guys. Thank you. Include you, Gary. To my wife, Nicole, you are a warrior. I love you. Thank you. And to the one who makes all things new, even people like me, all glory to you. Jesus is King. That's what I shared.
It was really special. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious what your, like, you know me pretty well. You did Freedom Sessions with me last year, but this year, you didn't weren't in my group, and so you weren't in the week to week stuff, and we generally only talk on this podcast and not beyond that. What was it like for you hearing it and having been with me last year? And
Yeah, I think, I mean, to be without sharing anything that you should share, not me, I guess it's just the journey of sanctification is a journey. And it's like, hey, I'm looking forward to, like, I know your skill set and your giftings. And I think when the few areas that you're still wrestling with, you find some permanent freedom, which I believe is possible. I think that often, I don't know how it is for you actually, but like, I feel like often we can get stuck in that thought process of, man, I'm just never going to fully beat this one area, or hey, or we justify and say, oh, I'm doing relatively well. And I think, yeah, like in your case where it's like, hey, you have you have the gift of leadership in the sense of challenging people, speaking bluntly, just leading, right? And pushing. And maybe some of that needs to be refined, or maybe it needs to be, because you're probably really, probably like I am, we're pretty savage, right? Like some people need that, but other people need gentleness, right? And it's like when you lead a facilitated group, you have to know who needs what.
yeah,
And
you
it's
need
hard.
to be able to read.
It's hard, right? It's hard. And even then, we might still get it wrong. And so there again, our group needs to be gracious with us. So no, I think it's pretty special. I think that you did a good job of kind of communicating that you're still struggling with sin. But I think you gave God all the glory, which is probably the most important part. I think a lot of people did. They always do, which is really cool. You can tell that the people that actually graduate and do the speech, you can tell that they were relying on the Lord and that they did come to the end of themselves, because then that's how they share. Because there's nobody standing there saying, oh, I did the hard work, or oh, I did this, or like there was none of that actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been, even for myself, like I didn't share too much. 'Cause first of all, it's not about me, but also I just feel like when I'm up there, I'm like, I don't want to talk too long, but I do feel like I shared a little bit of my struggle, like very, very, very surface level. But I did say I struggled with pornography and stuff. And I feel like even that, it's just literally a miracle. Like I feel it's a miracle to think of how ensnared I was and not even in pornography, or just like inappropriate movies, or just in this vicious cycle of like falling into like shitty patterns of just watching stuff I shouldn't. It's like, okay, like it is a miracle, right? And so yeah, I similar to me not drinking. It's so bizarre, like and smoking. Like I quit smoking in freedom sessions. I don't know if we talked about it publicly, but like in 2018. Yeah, 2018. And like I went in one night, and when you do that freedom ladder, I can, I will, or whatever. That night something clicked. I'm like, no, I can. If I pass my smoke to someone tonight and say I'm never going to smoke again, I don't need to smoke again.
Interesting.
By God's grace. I gave the cigarettes to another guy in my group who's still smoking.
Well, I remember you
Done.
the first session.
I'm still a smoker though, right? I have always said once my kids start, I will start.
Just still in the back of your mind, your little like piece that you still want to go back.
I'm probably going to. I love smoking. I'm totally a smoker at heart.
I remember,
Smokers are friendly.
I remember I found a pack of smokes, and my parents were in church, and I went. I was like probably like 14 or something, and so I went to the side of the house, and I was going to finish that pack before church was over, and so I had like 4 cigarettes in my mouth at once, just sucking it back.
Oh man, very typical.
Man, I puked.
Just drowned yourself.
I puked everywhere. So anyway, I was going back to what you were saying at the start of Freedom Session this year, so 28 weeks ago, that since you've been doing it since 2016, you had different levels of freedom every year. And I remember you saying it was only last year that you started exercising and eating healthy more. And I thought that was really, really interesting and insightful that like, oh yeah, this is like, sometimes we have this expectation of like when you become a Christian or you try to get healthy, now you have to have everything figured out or everything
You're just
conquered.
not going to. You're just not going to.
No, it's like everyone has, there's levels to it. That's something I really need to learn for myself.
Okay.
Because,
So on the flip side of that though, and this should be in the regular podcast, you might just need to tack this on because this is really important. Like on the flip side, I said to somebody last night afterwards, I was talking to another guy, great guy, one of the facilitators. I said, I have also found myself being so judgmental and so pharisaical, right?
that's what I mean.
Connected to that.
That's what I'm saying. Because like when you see sin in someone else's life that they're not completely over yet because it's like eating unhealthy and not exercising, whatever else.
Or whatever. Maybe that's just they have way other bigger issues that they're fighting with. Or maybe they do need to deal with it. I mean, that's what's kind of.
But still, there's grace, right? Like there's not like coming at it with like hardcore judgment or whatever. And I think that's what I need to learn for myself, because my default is to be like, you need to have everything figured out. You need to be perfect in every area. If there's another Christian that's figured it out, why can't you have figured it out?
Yeah.
You know, like if Gary figured out how to stop smoking weed, why can't you stop smoking weed and do this and do this and do this? You know,
it
and
is a
just
journey.
like be
It is a
perfect
journey.
now today.
It is a
and
journey.
and Jesus says, like, my arms are wide open.
For sure, deal with the most serious sin first. And that's what's funny. We often go to the things where either there's a pressure point from someone or, it's uncomfortable, but it's like, hey, like I say, it's probably the thing that nobody knows about. That's the most serious.
Well, when I started Freedom Session the first time, I had just met you for the first time. I was like really embarrassed to tell you that I smoked weed. And I remember being in the Earl's parking lot, calling you, and like, do I call him? Do I call him? Do I call him? Do I call him? And like, I finally called you, and I was like, kind of like started the conversation.
What did I say?
You said you have bigger fish to fry right now. Like, this is not something you need to deal with.
Not top priority.
Not top priority. You have much bigger issues.
If there's sexual sin,
yeah.
That's the biggest one in my opinion, because the devil really uses that to screw us up, get us in deep trouble. So
Yeah, very damaging.
very damaging to people that love us deeply.